Welcome back, Nerd Squad. Part of being a passionate participant in any fandom is the act and artistry surrounding speculation. As those who have loved a certain licensed comic book series or comic book character for forever or just for a while, we are eager when we love a superhero to know who might be portraying them on the big screen, or the smaller screen in the case of television or streaming series. Beyond that, sometimes we love them so much that we become worried or excited when we hear certain rumors about which actor will be matched with said character. Today we're going to look into some of the disappointments of the rumor world when it comes to some castings we heard discussed but that never came to pass. Or have yet to come to pass. That's right, we are counting down the top 10 superhero casting rumors we wish were real. And be sure to stick around till the end of this video where I will have some bonus content coming your way. Alright, let's get counting. Number 10. Channing Tatum as Gambit. So the hopes for this rumor for me were honestly more about the promise of a Gambit feature than Channing Tatum himself in the role. However, both Gambit and his longtime share and now wife, Rogue, are both known for being a couple of the hottest characters in mutantdom. So when it comes to looks for the role, we know Tatum has that on lock. He is one handsome devil. He's also got great comedic timing, which could have proved useful for the quick-witted, often sarcastic flirt known as Remy LeBeau. Unfortunately, it's more than likely we'll never get to know how Tatum would manage in the role and would sound with a Cajun accent, as the ongoing project that Tatum himself was pushing for in regards to playing Gambit in his own feature film has been permanently cancelled by Marvel and Disney, after years of Tatum working to try to get the project green-lit while it remained shelved. Cancelled for now, at least. A big question remains though, if we were to get a Gambit feature, who would be best to take on the role of Rogue? Also, can you have a Gambit feature without Rogue? I don't think so. Number 9. TAREN Egerton as Cyclops. TAREN Egerton is well known for his role as the loved character known as Eggsy from the Kingsman franchise. When X-Men Apocalypse was in development, Egerton was rumored to be taking on the role of the younger Scott Summers. Kingsman: The Secret Service was already a film based off of a comic series and was directed by the same director as X-Men First Class, Matthew Vaughn. Unfortunately, this rumor proved to be untrue, and it was later debunked that Egerton would be playing the young Cyclops. However, with the MCU potentially pushing reset on the X-Men world, it is possible we could see Egerton take up the role of Summers when mutants and the X-Men are inevitably integrated into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There have also been rumors that he could be playing Wolverine in the MCU. How do you guys feel about that? I personally think you'd make a better Scott Summers. Number 8. Donald Glover as Peter Parker. That's right, this fan-suggested casting turned Twitter upside down in 2010. The rumors started to fly, sparking debate between hundreds of Spidey fans all over, all because of a fan suggestion promoting the idea of Donald Glover playing Peter Parker. Andrew Garfield ended up being our Peter Parker instead, but the quick wit and awkward charm of Glover's would have likely been amazing to see when it came to the role of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Of course, this never came to pass, and now Glover is in his 30s, so he might be approaching too old of an age to play the teenage Parker, but at least fans got a consolation prize when it came to Donald Glover's presence in the MCU. In Spider-Man Homecoming, he played Aaron Davis, known as being Miles Morales' uncle in the comic book world, as well as the villain known as Prowler. Number 7. Tyrese Gibson as Green Lantern. Another rumor that started with the fans was one that Tyrese Gibson would make an excellent John Stewart, one of the most famous Green Lanterns in comics. Fans made so much noise about their support for this theoretical casting that both Gibson and Warner Brothers took note. Gibson himself expressed nothing but love for the idea. A well-established action star, Gibson was already known for his parts in both the Transformers and Fast and Furious franchises, and as such was also familiar with the responsibilities that come along with being a part of a well-loved franchise and fandom. For their part, Warner Brothers actually reached out to Gibson to confirm his interest. While a casting was never confirmed and Gibson's age seems to conflict with what the studio is looking for in regards to the role, it would definitely be cool to see Tyrese Gibson get to play a superhero. Hopefully at some point. I feel like he'd be good at it. Number 6. Zac Efron as Green Lantern. Zac Efron has been rumored for a few different Green Lanterns, including one of the most famous, Hal Jordan. I personally think he would make a pretty good Hal, as Jordan is supposed to be a very likable and upstanding dude who always does his best to do what is right, and Efron also emanates these super good guy likable vibes. However, the fan favorite casting for him in regards to Green Lantern Corps casting was actually Kyle Rayner. Last year, fans even made artwork to promote the idea of Zac Efron taking on the role of Rayner, and give us an idea of just how cool he'd look in Kyle's getup and mask. Who would you guys want to see Zac Efron as, Kyle Rayner or Hal Jordan? Number 5. Hugh Jackman returns as Wolverine. Oh my goodness. So despite the fact that Hugh Jackman has said time and time again that Logan was his last film playing Wolverine, the MCU is still holding out for his return. While casting rumors rumors have been circulating in regards to a younger actor stepping in for the role of Wolverine, like Rocketman and Kingsman star TAREN Egerton, it seems that this hasn't stopped Marvel for continuing to pine after Jackman. There's also an interesting rumor to help support this, that Disney hasn't disposed or sold the costumes from Fox Studios' X-Men, leaving many to speculate this is because they may be thinking of just reusing them and melding the two worlds in some sort of way, which honestly I'd kind of be into. There were some good things about the X-Men films that we should maybe hold on to. I don't know, maybe that's controversial of me to think. Jackman potentially being one of those things. Though, how much it'll cost to seduce Hugh Jackman back into the franchise is another question altogether. Would you like to see him return as the MCU's Wolverine? Let us know in the comments. Or should we move on to someone younger and let them have a go at it? Number 4. Dwayne Johnson as Ben Grimm. While Dwayne Johnson is set to play Black Adam in the DCEU now, that hasn't stopped the rumors from continuing to fly regarding the possibility that we could also eventually see him take on a role in the MCU. Johnson himself has seemed very Team DC when it comes to where his comic book publisher loyalties lie. When Shazam broke box office records in regards to the DCEU film franchise and held strong in regards to ticket sales despite both the MCU's Captain Marvel and Avengers Endgame hitting theaters only a few weeks apart from Shazam's theatrical release date, Johnson celebrated on Twitter with a video thanking the fans and poking a little fun at the MCU. But even while poking fun, Johnson went on to also congratulate the Marvel team's successes as well in the box office, remaining amicable. This amiability and Johnson's good nature in regards to most things is what has fans thinking he would make a great Ben Grimm. Also, just his look would be so great for it. Whenever the MCU decides to welcome the Fantastic Four to the big screen, of course. Though Johnson might not be the best fit depending on how long we end up having to wait and how ingrained and busy he becomes with his DC projects. Only time will tell. Number 3. Alison Brie as She-Hulk. Alison Brie is known for her aptitude as a comedic performer. She is most well known for her role as keener Annie Edison in the television show Community. In fact, Brie's IMDb is filled with credits that showcase that she has a particular penchant for playing funny women on screen who are known for the inability to quit or give up on the things that they believe in. Another role that has proved this as well as Alison Brie's physical prowess was her role as Ruth Wilder in Netflix's Glow, a show based off of the real-world Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. So we know that she can play funny, smart, and that she is strong when it comes to the potential role of Jennifer Walters. But beyond that, Brie is also a friend and workout pal of another strong female superhero, Captain Marvel's Brie Larson. In the comic book world, Carol and Jen are also known for being close. Could we see an instance of art mirroring life should this rumor become reality? I think that'd be super cute. Number 2. Jake Gyllenhaal as Batman. As surprisingly excited as I am for Robert Pattinson to adopt the Bat cowl, this is a casting that I feel like we really missed out on for the Batman fandom community. Jake Gyllenhaal has always been a fan favorite when it comes to him joining the world of superheroes. This is an actor that people have really wanted to see in tights for some reason. When Ben Affleck stepped down from the role of Batman, there were a few different actors who were rumored to be taking it up. One of the rumors pointed to Jake. Unfortunately, this rumor was mostly fueled by fans and less fueled by any actual talks that were happening. And in the end, Pattinson won out. Fortunately, we likely haven't seen the latest of Gyllenhaal's Mysterio in the MCU, so at least we have him as a supervillain, if not a hero. At least I feel like we haven't seen the last of Mysterio. You always think you have, but then he just shows up later, you know what I mean? Still, Jake Gyllenhaal would have definitely made for a very iconic Bruce Wayne and Batman in the DCEU had that magically happened. Number 1. Keanu Reeves as Moon Knight. Fan-made images helped to give this rumor a big push. However, even before that, Keanu Reeves was rumored to be joining the MCU in some capacity. Kevin Feige had mentioned that he was very much interested in having Reeves play someone in the MCU and that they had talked to Keanu about it. Although Feige expressed that he would very much like to make sure that they find both the right role for Reeves and get the timing right. Keanu Reeves himself has expressed interest especially in regards to the role of Adam Warlock, who we'll likely be seeing in the Guardians of the Galaxy 3. However, it's rumored that the John Wick team and fans are hoping that we get to see Reeves as Moon Knight instead. Either way, although this is just still a rumor and nothing is yet confirmed, even if the specific rumor of Reeves playing Moon Knight does not come to fruition, it is very likely we'll still see him joining the MCU at some point in the future, which I'm super excited for. Thank you so much for watching, Nerd Squad. I hope you enjoyed this list. Are there any potential castings that you were surprised by? What casting rumors would have you preferred when it comes to the MCU and DCEU? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And speaking of comments, it's time to turn to some comments from one of our latest videos, Top 10 Oldest Anti-Heroes. MJ Mickelson comments, I feel like Harley Quinn could have been a really good part of the list. Maybe she's not that much of an anti-hero today, but part 2? Sadly, yes. Harley Quinn is still very much considered a villain in the comic book world, though I feel like with every issue issue I see her in. She just creeps closer and closer to anti-hero status. But she was also recently voted one of the top villains in DC, so we're not quite there yet apparently. Still, I'm with you, and I did almost consider her for the list, but she was also introduced in 1992, which makes her not as old as I kind of would have needed her to be either to be on that list. George Powell comments, "Thank you for mentioning Namor, Amanda. I have always thought of him as an anti-hero." I agree. I feel like I trigger so many fellow nerds when I talk about him as an anti-hero, so I'm glad that this wasn't the case for you and I didn't trigger you. Namor is just such a complex character. I feel like calling him an anti-hero helps to acknowledge all of the potential roles that he can fill within a story. And that's all the time we have for comments today. Be sure to comment below for a chance to have your thoughts and feels shouted out in a future video. And be sure to smash that sub if you haven't already on your way down to those comments so you can stay up to date with all of our nerdy content. This has been Top 10 Nerd and I'm your host Amanda McKnight. Until next time, you stay nerdy, YouTube. So the hopes for this rumor for me were honestly more about the promise of a Gambit feature than chaining. When Shazam broke box